Hello and welcome to Movie Show Plus. I'm Tom Santilli. This is our stay-at-home edition of Movie Show Plus due to the pandemic, but we have a very special new episode coming up for you today that you're not going to want to miss. We're going to be chatting with the local movie theaters in Michigan, how they've been affected by the pandemic, what they've been up to since the stay-at-home order has been put in place, and what the future holds for them and the movie theater industry as a whole once we hopefully return to normal. We're also going to be checking in with Greg Russell to see what he's been up to, plus a whole lot more coming up on Movie Show Plus. So everybody, welcome to the stay-at-home edition of Movie Show Plus. I am here. What a sight for sore eyes, Greg. I never thought I'd be this excited to see you.
I am so happy to see you too, Tom, for sure.
And, a lot of people have kind of been wondering, what we've been up to and stuff. The show kind of course, was affected by the pandemic. We went into reruns through April, showing some of our classic episodes. But catch people up, Greg. What you been up to, man? You staying safe?
Pretty much hanging out here in my basement. Now, true enough, you're seeing London, England behind me.
Sure.
And ironically, Tom, you know how like on social media, they'll always come up saying, oh, here are pictures from you a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah, memories. Yep.
Well,
Yep.
For the past 3 years, normally at this time, I'm in London. So I figured, what the heck?
Coming up on the show today, just like every other business, a small business, our show has had to learn to adapt and to pivot, and that's what we plan on doing moving forward here. But we have a lot of great interviews lined up, not just movie related too, because you still have been getting some interviews and promotion stuff from like as you see your shirt Netflix there. But I know that in April, and people could check this out on our website movieshowplus.com, but you interviewed Ed Helms for a Netflix film, Coffee and Kareem. You also
took place here in Detroit.
Yeah, you did a segment with a friend of yours, which was really hilarious, where you guys talked about Airplane and drank wine. That was pretty cool. So you've been staying busy, and people can find that content online. But in addition to that, Greg, I've been busy interviewing all of the major theaters, big and small, in Michigan.
Great.
Yeah, to try to get an update as to kind of what they're doing, what the plan is. There's a lot of information out there, a lot of different, news sources, but we wanted to kind of create ourselves as maybe a niche, for the local movie audience, and kind of let people know what to expect when it comes to movies, and what the movie theaters are doing by the time we hopefully get back to whatever we call normal.
Right. And one of the things that you folks out there can do to help, and I mean, I've done this, is a lot of them are doing curbside concessions.
Yes.
Where, you just call there, you can order the popcorn, the soda pop, the candy, whatever, and, just drop by, pick it up, take it home, and enjoy the theater experience at home eating, their delicious stuff.
There's lots of ways to support the local theaters like we are this episode. And so, let's just launch into it. We will, here's some interviews I did with some local movie theaters. But stay tuned, too, because later in this episode, Greg, you're going to be you have a giveaway for somebody.
I've got a special giveaway, that's for sure. Something that you can really enjoy by staying at home.
We've also been playing around with some new content. There's a brand new segment on the show coming up later called WTF. With special guest Nate Adams. So all that coming up on this special stay-at-home edition of Movie Show Plus. And again, stay tuned for later in the show where Greg's going to give something away. So what better way to start things off than speaking with Ruth Daniels, managing partner of the Maple Theater, our friend of the show, a longtime sponsor of Movie Show Plus. We love the Maple Theater. Ruth, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thanks, and we love you too.
Oh, thank you so much.
Movie Show Plus.
It seems like just yesterday we were in a crowded theater watching the Oscars
and it was a great party. Boy,
yeah, dude, that was awesome. That was so fun. But what happened? And like a month later, we're all, giving ourselves haircuts.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Who would have ever thought this could happen? I mean, that movie theaters would close. I always told my children, I always told everybody that the only time a movie theater would close, it would have to be an apocalypse because nobody wants to stay home. I mean, a kid needs someplace to take a date on Friday or Saturday night, you know?
Right.
And there's nothing like a shared movie experience. And then, boom, the apocalypse.
You guys were kind of going through some changes anyway. You guys were just, kicking off. In the last year, you did some renovations and had the new, eatery there, the Maple Cafe, and some like upgrades like that. And then this thing hits.
Well, it was interesting because, we had reopened the cafe. Great Lakes Coffee was back. And when we first reopened it, which was in November, we had the pita post come in. And you did a great spot on the pita post, and it was good food and everything else. And those guys were gearing up for food truck season, so they were leaving. And we had a new couple, it's actually a brother and sister team, come in, and they also have a food truck. But they were just cooking our old menu, and we had just kicked that off. It was very quiet. We did it on a secret cinema night. People loved it because we had our grown-up grilled cheese. We had a burger. We had some really good food. Again, not that we didn't with the pita post, just back to the normal food.
Yeah.
And we were about to send out the press release and, really start gearing up. And then, boom, coronavirus. So in retrospect, it's probably good we hadn't sent it out before this happened.
Sure.
Did all of the advertising and everything, but people were so excited to come back and eat the food that they loved there and everything. And so I feel like it was just starting to take off again.
What are you hearing in terms of when you expect the Maple Theater to maybe be able to reopen, and just kind of what you expect we'll see with the movie theater industry?
Well, I'm optimistic that we'll probably be open in the summer. I don't know exactly when. I know the first big Hollywood release is set for mid-July, Christopher Nolan's film.
Yep,
and
Tenet.
I'm anxious to see what happens in the states that have opened movie theaters this week.
Yeah, sure.
And watch the progress in the next couple of weeks, because I think that might be indicative of what happens.
And it's confusing too moving forward because, even if like here in Michigan, as we speak right now, things are changing every day. But as we talk right now, we're still under the stay-at-home order until May 15th. Right. Say that lifts and movie theaters are able to open, a lot of them are not going to have things to show. They need to have films in order to show, to make money and to exist.
I think you may see us playing some things we might have not played before. I was just talking to a friend of mine who is in Hollywood, who, works out of there. And I was saying, if a theater opened this week, I'm wondering what they're going to play. I guess they could play like Star Wars, because that's always a good film to see on a big screen.
Sure.
The latest Star Wars.
Sure.
Things that were playing before we shut down. And, but that wouldn't necessarily be our film. One of the things people really miss about the Maple is secret cinema. So I could see doing that. The thing is that a lot of people have been talking about playing classic films, and that's all anybody's doing is watching classic films at home right now. So I don't know that that's the right content for when we first open. It's really hard to say. I hate to predict anything. I mean, I'm hoping for the best, and I'm hoping, everybody will reopen in the summer, and then we'll have a great rest of the year. I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing Wonder Woman, which was postponed, and Black Widow. And really, my top movie of the year is Top Gun Maverick, which is now December 23rd. So I can't wait for that one. I don't know if it's going to be at the Maple, but I can't wait for that one. I believe one of the best things that is going to come out of this pandemic is I'm praying that people are home, screenwriters, writing great rom-coms and comedies and things to make us laugh, not just about this experience, because we need some good, fun movies again. We need some things that make us happy. That's what I'm hoping comes out of it.
Well, Ruth, thank you so much. It's so cool to be able to talk to you. I miss seeing you. I miss being at the Maple Theater. And I really appreciate you joining us here. And I wish you the best and stay safe.
You too. Thank you, Tom. Take care.
So I am very honored right now to be speaking with Mr. Paul Glantz, co-founder and chairman of Emagine Theaters, Emagine Entertainment. Paul, thank you so much for taking time to chat with us here on Movie Show Plus.
It's my pleasure, Tom. Glad to be with you today.
So, I guess, as we speak and, as you know, things change so rapidly. Get us caught up a little bit on the trajectory here of Emagine since the pandemic hit versus where we are now.
Well, as you can imagine, it's not exactly business as usual.
Yeah.
We have had the good fortune to be able to retain all of our salaried personnel and our hourly managers. And we've deemed their work essential because what they've been doing is what I call the task that you referred to as if I ever had time. And so it's involved a lot of extra cleaning.
Sure.
And at the senior executive level, it's involved a lot of planning relative to what it's going to look like when we reopen, when we're going to be able to reopen, what kind of steps we're going to take, when we're able to reopen to assure the public that they're in good hands. We're busy applying for some loans. And one of the purposes of a loan is to perhaps acquire some assets of one of our bankrupt competitors.
I was going to ask you about that. If you saw this, it's kind of like the old making, lemonade out of lemons kind of a thing, if you're looking for opportunities in that way in terms of this being, I don't want to call this a good thing. Obviously, this is not a good thing, but long-term success for Emagine Theaters possibly coming out of this mess.
Well, you got it right. It's not a good thing for anybody.
Yeah.
Concurrently, we think that there may be some opportunities here. One of our Michigan brethren, Goodrich Quality Theaters, declared bankruptcy in February before the shutdown occurred. And so we're studying those assets right now to discern if any of them could be repurposed into Emagine Theaters. Now we learned on Saturday that CMX Theaters declared bankruptcy. And so we're going to be studying those opportunities as well.
Where we sit now, what could you tell movie goers in terms of what they might be able to expect moving forward? What is the movie going experience going to look like? How's it going to change?
In my best case scenario, it wouldn't change much. And here's why, Tom. I think that going to the movies is about enjoying a communal experience. And so we've already, as you could well tell from visiting our theaters, instituted social distancing before the term was even coined through the introduction of reclining chairs.
Yeah.
When we put in reclining chairs, we lose about 2/3 of our seat count. And so we've already substantially decreased our capacity through the advent of reclining chairs. And so I'm hoping candidly that it doesn't look a lot different. I mean, I think, for example, we will probably have a greeter at the door asking folks to use some hand sanitizer on the way in. It's entirely possible that most guests will be comfortable wearing masks or our governor will mandate that they wear masks. But at the end of the day, I think there's something special about watching a film with an audience in a communal environment.
The other debate going on right now in the industry is, you have to have something to show. And there's not the first big movie that is on the slate is not until mid-July. Even if, here in Michigan, if they lift the stay-at-home order and you're able, to open the theaters, do you foresee Emagine opening as soon as they can?
We were talking to our trade association last week, and we have it on good authority that the studios are prepared to provide us with quite a array of historical titles that they think folks would like to see on the big screen again. And so we would be delighted to bring those back to sort of allow folks to be reintroduced to the movie-going experience. And so we will open, I think, when we're allowed to open, provided that we can staff sufficiently. I'm optimistic, and I've gotten a lot of feedback from folks who say we can't wait to come back to the movies.
Yeah.
And so I think there's that's sort of that's half or a third, or who knows what the proportions are. And then we've got the other half that say, I'm not coming back to the movies ever. Right. So I think we'll figure it out. It's over time, right?
That's right. And Paul, if you could leave people with something, what's the main message that you would like to get out from Emagine to the moviegoers here in Michigan?
Well, we've always strived to provide our guests with the ideal and optimal entertainment experience. And I've always believed that cleanliness is close to godliness, so that we've strived to offer the most hygienic environment possible. We're going to continue to do that, of course, and perhaps even redouble our efforts beyond that. And so, again, I think it's really within the realm of each individual to determine if they're comfortable returning to communal environments. I would respectfully submit to you that, particularly if you're wearing a mask, it's safe. But, you know, I'm not a public health expert.
Right.
And so I think it's up to each individual guest to decide on their future, and they will ultimately determine our future.
So we'll shift gears for a quick second here and talk to people about something that they can watch. It's not necessarily a movie, but our friends at Netflix, of course, who have been just churning out content.
Right. It's a 3-part series, and it's called Hollywood, and it opens this weekend on Netflix. How are you?
All the better for seeing you.
Ah, I am so happy to be here with you too, as we can talk about this fabulous series. I think, what was the term they called this movie? Fraction, the blending of fact and fiction.
Yes, I hadn't heard that, but yes, that is exactly what it does do. And I think that was a later choice. I don't think that wasn't originally part of the description of the show. And I think that once we got underway, I think Ryan just saw this opportunity to do that and see what feelings it created and thoughts it created, to see what might have been.
Hello, how are y'all?
What's up, Greg? Detroit, representing Hollywood. Everyone's got their Hollywood.
Yeah,
side.
nice shot.
Love it.
You know, gotta, like you said, gotta wear that. I bought it in Hollywood on Hollywood Boulevard, so you know, it just fits in perfectly.
Perfect.
Gotta tell you, like I've mentioned to everybody, this is just truly one of those binge-watchable shows where you sit down thinking you're just gonna watch a little bit of it and catch up tomorrow. No, it's kind of like all 20 episodes. I know it's not that many, but all 20 episodes, you sit there and you watch it. So pulled into this. I mean, you know, just a great story. And then here you guys all are playing, at that time, young Hollywood, but from the 1940s.
You know, this was at a time when that hadn't happened yet. There hadn't been a Black leading lady before. And as we look at the story with Hattie McDaniels, you know, these incredibly talented actors were forced into these roles of maids and servants and domestics. So for Camille to be able to dream bigger and then to look at our show and think, what if that had been able to happen? What if there had been a huge hit with a Black woman as the lead and with, you know, a Black gay writer? Like, what could have representation have meant, and how could have Hollywood looked now if these things had been able to happen then?
And for Archie, that is to be a writer that writes a movie that is acceptable for all, that isn't just a race picture, which is what most Black writers were writing at that time, but to write a movie that could be a hit. And he wouldn't just be known as a Black writer, but to just be known as a writer.
Because like you said, everything seems to happen at the gas station. I mean, Patty, that's where, you know, you got to meet David's character, and Dylan, you ran the place. I mean, it gives a whole new meaning to full service gas station.
That's right. Fill her up.
Right?
Premium lubrication.
There you go.
That was on the wall of the gas station. That's not mine. That's on the wall of the gas station.
That's on the calendar from 1948. Okay, great. And Patty, I mean, you're married to a studio executive. You figure that, you know, hey, all you got to do is sit back at home and just be rich and be happy. But she wanted so much more.
Well, I think she was, you know, unhappy in the relationship with her husband. I don't know whether, since we don't explore that, whether she would have been, had she been happy with her husband, whether she would have sought the gas station.
So I'd like to welcome everybody to the newest segment on Movie Show Plus, the Stay Home Edition, WTF. And we're here with Nate Adams, film critic, theonlycritic.com. You can find him on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook at theonlycritic. Here's the concept of this segment, guys. While we've all been in quarantine and while movie theaters have dried up, you know, there aren't any new releases, really, any big releases, I should say. My friend here, Nate Adam, had, might I say, the courage to publicly get out there and try to catch up on some classic films that he has not seen in his lifetime. let me just go through this list. So this is the genesis of this segment. Started with I could not believe the movies that Mr. Adams has not seen. Let's rattle through just a few of them. These are movies that you have not seen prior to a couple weeks ago.
Correct. Recently.
The Princess Bride, Dirty Dancing, The Sting, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, 12 Angry Men, My Cousin Vinny, Clueless, 16 Candles, Jerry Maguire, What's Eating Gilbert Grape, Mallrats, Pretty in Pink, True Romance, Blazing Saddles. You also have not seen films like The Godfather Part 2 and 3, E.T., Fatal Attraction, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, On the Waterfront. We pretty much just named like every influential movie of the past half century. So my first question for you, Mr. Adams, is prior to becoming a film critic, had you seen a film?
Yes, and I actually wrote an article about this. I grew up watching a lot of comedies, like Adam Sandler, Jim Carrey comedies. I mean, that's just kind of what was influential in my young childhood. I watched, Ace Ventura all the time. I watched Billy Madison, Big Day. So, a lot of these films that I'm catching up with, they just were never prominently shown in my household.
The cool thing about this, though, is, again, the courage that you showed to kind of come out publicly with this. But the idea that, as you say, these are your words, but everybody kind of has their skeletons in their closet, though. Everybody has movies that everybody is like, WTF. How have you not seen this movie?
Well, and that's why I started doing it, because I felt like, since I do review films, I thought that it was in my best interest to be transparent with my audience and let people know that, hey, I've never seen these movies, but I'm making a point to watch them now. And I don't know how many times, and you may be able to relate, Tom, that I've run into people that have never seen a single Star Wars movie, and they get chastised left and right. So it's kind of the same thing. In
preparing for this first installment of WTF here, though, I put together, we're going to do a lightning round, if you're okay with that.
Let's go.
I'm going to rattle through a list of films that I feel are classic movies that need to be in everybody's repertoire of films, critic or no critic, and just a simple yes or no as I go through each one as to have you seen the movie, have you not seen the movie?
All right.
Citizen Kane.
Yes.
Casablanca.
Yes.
Wizard of Oz, you already said yes.
Yes.
Schindler's List.
Yes.
You're doing good so far, by the way.
I know. I'm impressed with myself.
Singing in the Rain.
Yes.
It's a Wonderful Life.
No.
The Sound of Music.
Yes.
Vertigo.
No.
Gone with the Wind.
Yes.
Psycho.
Yes.
Rocky.
No.
Oh, man. Jaws.
No.
Pulp Fiction.
Yes.
A Clockwork Orange.
No.
Silence of the Lambs.
Yes.
Okay, there's a couple of good ones in there that you missed.
I know, yeah.
I'm going to leave you with this one, though, too. Braveheart.
I have not seen a single frame of Braveheart.
I'm going to melt off the frame right now real quick. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to challenge you, and I'm going to challenge everybody out there watching and listening to this right now. Use the hashtag on the screen, hashtag WTF Movie Show Plus. What does the WTF stand for? What's that film? Whatever you want it to be.
Like it.
It's whatever you want it to be. But use that hashtag, and we're going to challenge Nate, or you can challenge myself, or just share with us some movies that are your skeletons in the closet. What are some classic films that everybody would get on your case to know that you have not seen? And just shoot that out there. But Mr. Nate Adams, I'm going to challenge you to, by next episode that we do this, by the next week's show, I want you to watch Braveheart.
Consider it done.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time, and we'll see you guys next time on the next installment of WTF. Hashtag.
Thanks for having me.
So, Greg, we are coming to the end of our first stay-at-home edition. This was kind of fun.
Oh, it was.
I'd much rather be out in the neighborhood. I'd much rather would be out visiting local businesses like we have in the past. Detroit, like the rest of the country, will be back.
That's for sure. That's for sure. And speaking of Detroit, got a special giveaway for you. The movie The Gentleman. Remember that with Matthew McConaughey, that came out earlier?
Hey.
I've got a DVD copy. Also, a deck of playing cards from the movie right here, as well as These are these special rocks that you put in the freezer that act like ice cubes, where
nice.
you take them and, you know, just drop it in your drink, make sure your drink stays cool. And speaking of which, this nice glass, which you can pour your drink into.
There you go.
All that for you, all a part of the Gentleman coming out on Blu-ray, DVD, and streaming. So your opportunity, all you have to do is just go to Movie Show Plus's Facebook page, put your name, there'll be a picture of the giveaways.
Yep.
Put your name in there, and whoever we pick, boom, we'll get in touch with you and have the stuff sent off to you straight from the studio.
Please stay tuned to Movie Show Plus in the coming weeks. Again, we're going to be talking to even more movie theaters. Greg Russell will continue to bring you content, the latest around all of the releases, whether it's streaming in the short term or long term, hopefully more big screen releases. But we'll have it all for you here if you're a fan of movies. Tell your friends about Movie Show Plus and get together, man. Every week we're on Sundays at 10:30 and again at 2:30 on WADL. Greg, it's been real. Stay safe, my brother.
You too, Tom. Best to you and your family. And like I said, you and yours, stay safe, and all of you out there as well.
Check out movieshowplus.com to watch this episode online and for exclusive content, extended interviews with Greg Russell, and a complete archive of movie reviews with Tom Santilli. Also, make sure to like and follow us on social media and on our Movie Show Plus.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.